The lemur had never gone near the baby's room. This was known and expected. Ziggy was 7 years old and had clear preferences about which rooms of the house were his territory and which belonged to the other residents. The nursery had been established firmly in the other category since the infant arrived. Then one morning, Ziggy sat down outside the nursery door and did not move. Mariella watched from the hallway. Ziggy was positioned with the particular stillness that she associated with his tracking behavior, the absolute economy of motion that he maintained when something had his full attention, not sleeping, not resting. Tracking. She looked at the nursery door. It was closed. The monitor was silent. She looked at Ziggy. He screamed, not his usual vocalizations. The contact calls, the alarm calls. She knew, something she had not heard him produce before. A sustained, high-pitched, specific sound that started the hair on her arms before she had consciously processed what it meant. She was through the door in 3 seconds. The baby's color was wrong. Not dramatically, not the blue that would have had her calling 911 before she registered the decision. A subtle wrongness, the kind that a monitor reading from the next room might not catch, that a parent not already in the room might not see. She called the emergency line with the baby in her arms. The paramedics arrived in 7 minutes. The pediatric cardiologist who reviewed the case 4 hours later explained that the infant had a cardiac arrhythmia that had been present, but undetected. A rhythm irregularity that produced intermittent periods of reduced cardiac output. The color change you observed, the cardiologist said, is consistent with reduced peripheral perfusion. The fact that you were in the room to observe it. That was the difference. The lemur screamed, Mariella said. The cardiologist waited. She explained Ziggy. The 7 years of established territory, the morning he had appeared outside the nursery door, the stillness, the scream she had never heard from him before. There are documented cases of non-human primates alerting to human health events, she said finally. The mechanism is believed to be olfactory. Changes in body chemistry associated with cardiovascular stress may produce detectable compounds. Mariella went home 3 days later. Ziggy was at the door when she came in. He approached her, sniffed the baby with careful precision, and then retreated to his usual position on the high shelf in the living room. Mariella watched him settle. She thought about the morning he had appeared in the hallway, about the 7 years of established territory that he had simply abandoned because something on the other side of the nursery door required his attention. She thought about the scream, the sound she had not heard from him before in 7 years of knowing his voice in all its registers. It was the sound of something being communicated that had no other channel. She sat down on the couch below his shelf. "Thank you," she said. Ziggy looked down at her with the expression of a lemur who has done what needed doing and finds the acknowledgement unnecessary but not unwelcome. The baby made a sound from the carrier. Ziggy's attention shifted to the carrier and held there for a moment. The tracking stillness, the complete economy of motion. Then he settled back on his shelf and looked at the middle distance. Still watching, always watching. This was what Mariella had not understood before. She had thought the territory boundaries were about preference, about comfort. They were about perspective, about positioning. He had chosen the highest point in every room he claimed. He had always been watching from a height that gave him information she didn't have. She just hadn't known what he was watching for. The family processed it in stages. First, the immediate relief of knowing, of having information where before there had been unease and explanation, and the particular discomfort of watching an animal do something unexplained. Second, the retrospective, the looking back through the days of behavior and reassigning meaning. This moment was not play, it was alert. This moment was not territorial, it was navigation. The rereading happened over dinner, over the drive home from the clinic, in the quiet of the nights that followed. Third, the question that did not have an answer and that they found they did not need answered. How long had the lemur known, not known, detected, responded to, done the thing? The research existed. They found it in pieces over the following days. Studies on canine olfactory detection of blood glucose, studies on animal alerting to seizure precursors, documented cases of dogs identifying respiratory changes, cardiac events, bacterial infections, all before human instruments registered anything wrong. The mechanism in each case was the same: chemical compounds that shift when physiology changes, compounds that exist in breath and skin, and the microscopic chemistry of a body doing something different than its normal operating state. A dog's nose contains roughly 300 million olfactory receptors. A human nose contains approximately 6 million. The math was simple. The implication was less simple. It meant the lemur had been living in a version of their home that was richer in information than the version they occupied, had been reading in real time a chemical record of everyone in the house, had been tracking changes in that record the way a careful person tracks changes in a patient's chart, had flagged the change, had acted on the flagging, had kept acting until someone paid attention. The father sat in the kitchen one evening the week after. The lemur was asleep in his usual place. The house was quiet. He thought about the word alert, about what it meant when applied to an animal rather than an instrument. Instruments beeped, lights came on, numbers changed on screens. This had been different. This had been a living thing making a decision about what the information required and then executing the decision daily, without acknowledgement, without the guarantee that anyone would ever understand what it was doing. Just doing it. Just staying at the post. He looked at the lemur sleeping. He thought about what he owed this animal. Not gratitude exactly. Gratitude implied a transaction, and there had been no transaction. The lemur had not done this for gratitude.